Plot twist. Still alive! What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Plot Twist, Still Alive! I am your hostess with the mostest, 3-time cancer survivor and chaos coordinator, Crystal with a K! Thank you guys so much for coming back. I cannot believe we are still alive. You are not tired of listening to me fucking talk. I love that so much. So, today, it is about time for another master of plot twists. And those are the people that have experienced things in life and basically been pushed to step outside of their comfort zone, do the things people are afraid to do, mark off a fuck it list that most people maybe wouldn't do or were too afraid to do. And today I have somebody that has fought the same beast as I have, breast cancer, and she chose to create something to help so many women catch it early, make sure that they know their resources and they know their breasts. So everybody say hello to Jamie. Say hello to everybody, Jamie.
Yay! Hello, everybody. Jamie.
You're so cute. Hi, Jamie. Oh, and she has a beautiful little pup that'll be joining us as well. So you're welcome to all the animal lovers.
This is Koa.
Koa's so sweet. Little 12-week-old baby. So why don't you start by telling me about your breast cancer journey?
Yeah, I had a really interesting situation happen. I was a school teacher for 20 years and I retired in June of 2022. And literally 1 week after my retirement party, I found out I had breast cancer. I had all of these plans for my retirement, and that completely changed. My first full year of retirement was doing things that I just didn't even expect to be doing alongside with my husband. I was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer, HER2 positive, ER/PR negative. And what had happened was I had felt a lump. I had been getting mammograms and ultrasounds. I knew I had dense breast tissue. I was 54 years old. I was knowledgeable about breast cancer, but I ignored the lump. And I was super excited about doing my retirement party, and I just sort of ignored it. I thought it was just my lumpy breasts. And I knew that I'd had a mammogram several months prior. And I got them every single year. I just kept going along with my days, just saying, oh, there's a lump. And then one day I asked my husband to feel it, and he felt it. And I think it was about 2 days before my retirement party, I got a ping on my phone that said, hey, it's time for your mammogram. My husband and I were having a beer out on the patio a couple days prior to my retirement party. And I heard it being on my phone. I picked up the phone. They scheduled it for 3 weeks down the road, but then they asked me if I'd felt anything, if I had noticed anything. And I said, no. And they said, okay, we'll see you in 3 weeks.
So you didn't tell them about the lump. Okay. I was a very bad cancer patient, so I am not judging. I tell them, don't do what I did. That's what I say.
I'm judging myself, Crystal. I judge myself every day. So I hung up the phone and my husband looked at me and he goes, that's not true. You do feel a lump. You also felt some zingers and hot spots. And I said, oh my God, you're right. What was I thinking? So I picked the phone back up and I said, yeah, I just made an appointment and I said that I didn't feel anything. And I actually did. I do feel a lump. I do feel zingers and hot spots. And so they actually moved my mammogram up by 3 weeks. So then it was the Tuesday after my retirement party. So had the retirement party. Then on that Tuesday, I went and did the mammogram and ultrasound. And of course, I was called back where this little old Dr. McDonald had his big screens and he showed me the calcifications and the associated mass. He says, we need to get this biopsied. This is where we have a concern here. I knew in my heart and in my mind that it was breast cancer. But interestingly enough, the radiologist that I typically see is actually a friend of ours. And he just happened to be at my retirement party a few days prior. And he wasn't working that day. So I picked up the phone and called him and said, hey, I need you to look. Can you look at these scans? And he did. And he called me that night. My husband and I were going to a concert. We were standing in line to get into the concert. It was 6:30. And he called me and said, it is a 95% chance or more that it is breast cancer. He was able to get my appointment that was the following week, like a week and a half down the road, moved up to that Friday. Lucky me, I know that I am very privileged that way. That is not something typically that would happen. I immediately was like, thank you. So I went in, got that terrible needle biopsy. You're full of anxiety and then you have to have this needle biopsy. And I'd never had one of those before. I'd only had a lumpectomy where they took it out and they did the biopsies. But also equally as privileged, he says, do you want to know in 24 hours or do you want me to call you on Monday? And I said, I want to know in 24 hours. So we happened to be going camping that weekend and we were sitting at the lake at 3:30 in the afternoon when he called and told me that it was breast cancer. So yeah, it was a plot twist of my retirement.
I mean, changed your whole life. And you think retirement will change your whole life. You're like, now I get to do all these things that I've waited to do. And like you said, fucking plot twist. Now you're doing all these things that was not on your bingo card at all.
No, not at all. And it's not that I never thought I could get breast cancer because I knew that I could. Number one, I had had 2 lumpectomies in the previous 10 years. I knew that I had dense breast tissue. I also knew several people who had had breast cancer. One of my friends actually told me that her doctor said it's not a matter of if you're going to get breast cancer, it's a matter of when. If you live long enough, you're going to get a cancer of some sort, most likely. So it surprised me, but then it didn't surprise me, if that makes sense.
I don't know what you would call it, like that aura we knew before we knew that you had it. Like I have had previous medical things throughout my life. And it's like, I knew when it wasn't something, but then the same as you, when I went, as soon as I found out I had a lump, both times I knew it was breast cancer. And both times I got that feeling of, I know what it is. And it's crazy because a lot of people will say, oh, well, you got to think positive. I'm like, I can't explain it. It's not a choice. It just hit me like, this is cancer. And it was before anyone told me it was cancer. So I don't know why that happens.
Yeah, I guess I have a really hard time understanding that people think that if you think positive, that it's not going to be anything, or the chances are it's not going to be anything, as if we don't think positively anyway. Like I was always a positive thinker, but I also recognize my emotions and my feelings. And sometimes we're just negative about certain things. There's a lot of things that I've learned since the diagnosis about certain things that people say. And I think that's kind of a commonality with all of us breast cancer survivors. We've heard a lot of interesting comments.
Definitely going to have a book at some point about what not to say to a breast cancer or cancer patient, period, because they mean well, but things like that, it's almost like because I thought I had cancer, I willed it to be. Mm-hmm. And that isn't the case. I think positivity can take you a long way, but you're allowed to be negative, especially in regards to something really traumatic happening to your life-altering thing like cancer. Yeah. You're allowed to be upset and think, for me, I have to.
Exactly.
Awesome. I can deal with it. But at least I've entertained worst case scenario, because if I don't, it would break me. If I was just like, no, it's not cancer. No, it's not cancer. And then bam, I get a diagnosis. I think it would have made me break into a million pieces.
Right. Absolutely. And also the same goes for being healthy. And I think there is something to be said for keeping yourself healthy. Eating right, exercising, keeping inflammation down in your body and things like that. When I was diagnosed, one of the things that a lot of people said is like, oh my God, but you were so healthy. And I was like, I am healthy.
I am healthy.
I am healthy. And it turns out that healthy people can get cancer, A. B, it's better to be healthy and get cancer, because you're going to be able to get through the treatments a whole hell of a lot better, right?
Amen to that. And I think that that's like the silver lining if you have to pick one. Because again, as cancer survivors, we're allowed to talk about the silver lining. It's when other people point it out, you're like, stop telling me I look good bald and stop telling me like I was healthy, please, for the love of God. But when you've been through it, you can look at it and say, okay, well, I'm glad that I was a little bit younger and healthy when I got diagnosed, because you watch people that are in their 70s get diagnosed and it's a completely different thing. Sometimes the treatments alone can completely just make them crash, and it's unfortunate. So again, there are silver linings with being healthy, being younger, and in your 50s is young for any disease.
Yeah, it is. Little did I know when I started podcasting, it was 1 year after my diagnosis. I've interviewed so many young breast cancer survivors, those that were in their 20s and 30s. And it occurred to me that, gosh, so many people think this is like an old lady's disease. And so when people in their 20s and 30s are being diagnosed, they are like blown away. So many people are blown away. I know some people aren't because maybe breast cancer has been in their family and they understand it. But most young adults are blown away and they don't know anything about breast cancer. And the learning starts at the diagnosis. So part of the being blown away is that, my God, I'm only 25 or I'm only 28 or I'm only 35.
Well, and they weren't even being screened because insurance has them screened at 40.
Right.
So if they hadn't found something, and typically in my experience with the breast cancer warriors I've met, because I helped run a breast cancer nonprofit for 4 years and ultimately was with it about 6, all of the young women, I was the anomaly because I had childhood cancer. So my doc just took it for like gospel and said, go get a mammogram. All the other women, it's probably just a cyst. It's probably your menstrual cycle. And they were put off for months, sometimes years, because they were too young to have breast cancer. I have seen in the last couple of years, I think doctors are taking it a lot more seriously. Not just breast cancer, like gastrointestinal, colorectal. It's hitting younger and younger people. So I'm glad that the medical field is changing with it, but I'm also very saddened to see that you're not too young to get breast cancer, and that needs to be taken out of everybody's vernacular, period.
Yep, everyone's. And men too,
Exactly.
It's important for everyone to know that if you have boobies, you can get breast cancer. There's just so many things that I knew a lot, but I was blown away what I didn't know and what I'm still learning. To think that I was 54 and knowing a lot and not knowing a lot, what do the 20 and 30-year-olds know and what don't they know? So that's, a huge mission of mine, is to change that. And you're right. I mean, it is sad, and I'm glad that doctors are taking it more seriously now. And I think a lot of that has to do with patient advocates like us.
Amen. And
we are
teaching people to advocate for themselves. That's the biggest one and the hardest one for a lot of people, because I can advocate for other people all day, but when it comes to myself, I still get weird about it. I don't know if you're the same way or if you've learned to be like, nope, I don't care anymore.
Oh, yeah, no. I learned how to be a better advocate for myself when I got the diagnosis. So, now I do teach people not only the signs of breast cancer, but their risk factors and how to take that information and advocate for themselves.
So to scroll back before we get into that, you get diagnosed while you're camping at the lake. I'm assuming your husband's with you and you're having to and did you tell him, I think I have breast cancer beforehand as well? Or is that something you kept to yourself?
No, I think I was pretty clear with him. We both knew that it was probably breast cancer, but there was a lot of anxiety that week. He was being really weird, and the vibe, we were just kind of like doing this weird anxiety dance. And ultimately, when I went in and got my biopsy, I told him I didn't want him there. And I took another friend of mine who had had breast cancer before. He was just really weird that day. And I just said, you know what? I don't want you to go. I'll see you when I get home, which is really weird. Because moving forward after the diagnosis, he was with me every single appointment. But I went in with my friend, got the biopsy, came home. And I think at that point, he was like, okay, I need to chill out. I mean, when you have your partner, they're learning too. And their loved one is going through this, and they're not sure exactly how to respond.
They parallel what we feel as warriors. They're afraid. They're scared. They don't know what to do. They can't
fix it.
Fake it. Yeah. And men are fixers. Most men are fixers. So they act really weird when the worst case scenario is like right there. And they're like, I don't know how to fucking fix that. What do I do with my hands? So
Yeah.
sometimes it takes a minute. So you give them grace, but it's hard in the moment because you like you said, it's weird he didn't go, but I don't think so. I think if anyone's been through this and was married and had a significant other, especially a man, there's a lot of these conversations that happen in relationships. It's pretty normal, par for the course.
Yeah. And that is exactly why when I started the podcast very early on, I think it was maybe episode 10, I had my friend John interview us. We interviewed together and we talked about all the shit we went through. We went through a lot of shit during my diagnosis. And
It will test your relationship. It truly will.
And this is
Plot
when I
twist,
found
he's
out
still
this,
there.
Yeah,
I saw him in the
plot
back.
twist, he is still there.
Unless that's a new husband.
No, that's not a new husband. That's my same husband.
Love that.
But I mean, 40% of marriages break up because of breast cancer, and it's so heartbreaking. And sometimes it's not about just, oh, you lost your boobs, I don't want to be married to you anymore, or whatever. Sometimes it's just the pressure. Like people, when they get married, they say in sickness and in health, and they were like, I didn't know that's what this meant. It's so soon after we got married, or we were serious about saying that. It's like, yeah, right. It's serious.
Well,
yeah.
In general, like 50% of marriages fail anyway, which is, again, unfortunate. You don't go into a marriage thinking that. But we also change during this journey. You're not the same person that you were when you got diagnosed. And sometimes that ends the relationship because they maybe can't handle what you're prioritize in life anymore. Because my life, completely different. And even though I have been diagnosed 3 separate times, I also have seen myself shift and change into, for me, a better person. But I know that for everybody, we have different journeys. So some people change into maybe a more negative person or more angry person. It really tests your marriage. And you can come out stronger, or I have seen it where some men are just, let's be honest, like fucking deadbeats, and they just leave because it gets too hard. Yeah. But then there's like, hey, we both changed, and this just isn't what we want anymore. So there's a healthy mixture of all of that. But
well, and my husband and I have been together for 24 years, and at that time it was 20 years. And so many diagnoses come after being married for 1 year, 2 years. Their plot twist happens super fast. And sometimes that marriage, the foundation isn't solid yet. With married life, it takes a long time to get a solid foundation. And so when I was diagnosed, my husband and I had gone through a lot of BS for years. Like we had gone to counseling. We really had to work at our marriage, which I think that people need to work on it anyway. I mean, we change and we either grow together or we grow apart. And there's so many disagreements and so many fights and moving out or moving back in. And there's so many things that create that major foundation. And some marriages just don't have that yet. So they're already on rocky ground, and they're like, oh my God, do I really want to move forward with this? My wife has breast cancer and I don't even know how to fix it. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. Am I going to say the wrong thing? Am I, and all of that. I mean, all of that plays a role in it.
Yes, you will say the wrong thing because inevitably every husband does, but it's not your fault.
This is true.
Now, and my husband and I were married for 9 months and we had an 8-month-old son together. So it was definitely a new experience for us and it definitely tested us. I think I'm very lucky that he's the even-keeled person and I'm the emotional high and low. We balance each other. But there were times where it actually frustrated me because I'm like, do you care that I have cancer? And he's like, I love you, baby girl. Yes, I'm here no matter what, baby girl. And I'm like, be upset. But he's just not that person. And now looking back, I'm very grateful that he is like that. And even though, yes, there were, like you said, it tested our marriage. We're now, we're going on our 4th year and we're killing it in the fucking game. So very happy he stuck it out. I stuck it out. And I'm also happy to hear that your relationship, all the trials before really just prepped you for the biggest trial yet.
Yeah, for sure. We had just lost 2 patriarchs of our family and my mother, 3 extremely important people in our lives. So we had gone through that together. And then cancer hits a year after his biological father passed away. So
it always has great timing in life.
Yes, it really does. Holy
It's
cow.
like, how can I fuck with you more? Oh, here's a sprinkle of cancer on that grief.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's just see how much more you can take. Yeah.
I'm so strong. I can take it. So obviously this happens. What treatments, how quickly did you get into treatment? What types of treatments and surgeries did you have to undergo?
Yeah, so I went through chemo first. I had 5 of my 6 rounds of chemo. And the only reason I had 5 is because I had developed this really crazy rare anemia because I needed more stuff. Because they found another tumor with all of my scans. And it was in my thoracic cavity. It was a thymoma tumor. And they're like, oh, you have this other tumor. It's sitting up against your heart. I'm like, oh, how long's that been there? I don't know. It could have been there forever. I mean, because I learned a lot about what thymoma tumors were. They did a biopsy on it. It was benign. But what had happened is when I started chemo, somehow the tumor was emitting these antibodies that were attacking my red blood cells that were already producing too slow. And I had to get a second and a third opinion because my oncologist thought it was an iron deficiency. It was not. She kept telling me to go home and eat a big, juicy red steak. And I'm like, Dr. Riganti, I don't eat red meat right now. Like, I'm a vegetarian for the most part. I don't eat bloody red steaks. You need to go home and eat a bloody red steak. But it turned out that it was a completely different anemia. And it was like pure red blood cell aplasia anemia. And luckily, I had had people following my journey because I was very open about it. And I was telling people about what was happening. And I had a lady reach out to me and say, I want to connect you to this doctor at University of Indiana. He deals with these rare anemias. So not only was I referred to Dr. Abedi at UC Davis, but also I connected with this other doctor, Dr. Lair, and they both had the same diagnosis. It's this pure red blood cell aplasia anemia. So I was having to go get dozens of blood transfusions in between everything else.
In between treatment.
Oh, yeah. And
God.
I was hospitalized several times. I had to be on this medication, cyclosporin, for quite some time after my treatment. But I went through that. I went through the chemo. I went to New Orleans to have the deep flap surgery through Dr. Cabling at the Center for Restorative Breast Surgery. I've interviewed him on my podcast as well. I've interviewed all kinds of people. And had the deep flap surgery. Do you know what that is?
Yep, I actually had that myself. I went to surgeon Dr. Schneider, who I believe actually went to school in Louisiana because that's where they taught deep flap. He may know the doctor.
Oh, probably.
Up until recently, that was not like you had to go either to PRMA in Texas or Louisiana, a couple other places. That's it. So I knew for a fact he did great revisions. He worked specifically with breast cancer warriors as well. That's one thing I would say. If you're diagnosed, don't go to a regular plastic surgeon. You want somebody who knows all of your options and can point you in the direction of which one you choose because there are several options. I'm now a deep flap girly.
Are you happy with them?
I am, but it was definitely the hardest surgery I've ever had, including the double mastectomy. Yeah, I am happy. And I just got my Perky girls to give me my nipple tattoos like 2 months ago, and they're not the same. My breasts are never going to be the same, but I'm not the same. So why not have breasts that match me being the new me?
What is your surgeon's name again?
Dr. Schneider, Dr. Chris Schneider.
Where is he?
He's in Austin.
Okay. So he's where Dr. Elizabeth Potter is. Do you follow her?
I do. Yes. She's in Austin.
I was going to say, yes. I would love to connect with him if you can connect us because I would love to interview him. One of the things I have been super focused on is finding where all of those microsurgeons are. I've interviewed Dr. Elizabeth Potter, Dr. David Light in New York, Dr. Cabling, and a couple of them over at PRMA, Dr. Crisopolo, Dr. Srinivasa. Just want people to know where they are because what you were saying before was that you do not want to go to just any plastic surgeon. If you're going to get any flap surgery, you want to make sure that you find a fellowship trained microsurgeon who eats, sleeps, and breathes that kind of surgery because it is
100%.
so big, so big. Yeah.
And to
Perky girls.
tell you what your options are. He was truly trying to advocate for me. He was letting me make my choice, but he's like, are you sure you don't want the deep flap? Are you sure? And I was like, no, I don't want to. It's fine. But he knew what was best for me, even though I didn't at the time. And I wish, looking back, I would have listened. So I will get you in touch with him. And Dr. Garza, I don't know if you've talked to him or not, but he...
Oh, yes. I've interviewed Dr. Garza, too. Yes.
Love that.
No, I get around. I get around, Crystal.
I get around, girl.
I get around.
I'm a hussy when it comes to deep flap.
Yeah. And when I went to San Antonio maybe a year ago, I've been there a few times. I actually took an Uber all over the place. I went to Dr. Garza, met him in person and all of his staff. And then I went to PRMA and met one of the doctors over there that I had interviewed. And then I went over to Perky Girls. So I made a girls trip out of it. I don't know if you've seen the video that they put out in December because I was just there for the breast cancer symposium and I went there for my touch-ups. But they did a really cool reel where I came in and they interviewed me. I talked about how the first time around, I gathered a few girlfriends. We went there. We stayed at Crystal's dad's Airbnb and we made a girls trip out of it, got our nipple tattoos. And then when I went back in December to get my touch-ups, we, did a big interview about it. And so that is on their Instagram. And I love Crystal and Courtney. And I've interviewed them on the podcast. And I just recently interviewed Crystal again for nurse coaching that she has now. Yeah.
Yeah, they're beautiful women. They're beautiful advocates and truly just like a gem. They are gifts to the breast cancer community. Even though neither one of them has had it, they have family members. You don't have to endure it to fight for it. And I love that so much about them. They are so passionate and just make room for all types of different grief and everything else. And they have so many things that, yes, it's related to breast cancer, but nurse coaching could work for any type of cancer. A lot of the scar things that they do and even eyebrow tattooing for people that have endured chemotherapy, those are all for anyone that needs it, not just breast cancer. So check out our Perky Girls. Shameless plug for them. I love them so much. HelloPerky.com. But they were our previous master of plot twists. So you can check out that episode if you want to learn more about them. I do the entire process of what that looked like with them. So thank you.
Yes, my nipples are on the internet as well.
Ask me about my nipples. Me too, sis. High five to us. Yes. So back to your breasts.
Back to my breasts.
Back to your breasts. So you did chemo. You had anemia. You had to go get a ton of blood for that because, again, cancer, you were an overachiever. And then...
I was an overachiever, and they couldn't just get any blood that was my type. They had to literally test the shit out of it because of the antibodies. I could do a whole TED talk on this. It's crazy, but I won't. But they had to test it every single time, and it usually took hours and hours and hours to do it. People would be like, oh, I have this type of blood. I can donate my blood. Well, you can't just do that. One time they had to drive to Sacramento to get my blood. Luckily, I had people who were listening to my story and were like, hey, I want you to talk to this doctor because they probably will be able to help you. Thank goodness. Yeah.
So did you did your surgeries post then? You did the deep flap after chemo?
I did.
Did you have to do radiation?
I did not. So the story about that is luckily I had 3 amazing birdies who visited my life throughout my journey from diagnosis all the way through the treatments, who reached out to me and said, hey, I have this friend whose sister went to New Orleans and had this surgery that they used the tissue from your body. And it was going in one ear and out the other because I was so overwhelmed by everything else. But I still had it kind of tucked away. And then a little while later, somebody else reached out and said, hey, my sister-in-law went to this place in Georgetown and she had this breast surgery where they used her tissue. And then the third time it happened, I'm like, okay, something is to this kind of surgery because they don't have that kind of surgery here in Reno. I looked I had never heard of it all, and I didn't want implants. I didn't want any of that, but that's what I was looking at doing. I found out about the place in New Orleans, and that is where I ultimately went. But that was another plot twist that threw me and my husband into a huge fight about it because he didn't understand why I had to go out of town to get my breast surgery. He goes, you're going to fire your whole team here and you're going out of town to actually get your breast surgery. That's ridiculous. Why can't we do it here in Reno? And I said, because there's no one here in Reno who is a microsurgeon who can do this kind of surgery. And we went rounds on it. It was bad. He wouldn't look at the literature. He was not on the consultation with me. I was pissed off at him. He was pissed off at me. And finally, I just said, I don't care what you think. This is my body. This is my body, not yours, not anyone else's. I'm going to do exactly what I want to do with my body. And this feels right to me. And that's when he kind of was like, okay, all right. And he ended up supporting me and looking into the research and going with me. And he will tell you today that it was the best thing that we could have done. But I had to actually fight him on it. It was crazy.
Well, again, sometimes the fixing portion is they think, oh, well, I read this, so it's got to be accurate. And again, what you just said, I think every warrior that comes with advocating for yourself, whether it's treatment, surgery, or any of that, you have to do what's best for you. You decide, because we have no control over having cancer. So we have to cling on to what we do control. And those choices, even though they don't seem like choices, right? Like having a reconstructive surgery or having to do chemo, those don't feel like choices, but they are. And having someone else try to tell you how to do it when you're like, you don't have to live it, I do, especially for something that is going to be permanent on you. Yeah, I get, again, where someone can have an opinion, but I also want people to advocate, like if you're the one going through it, and if you're the loved one of someone going through it, support them, because they have to make the decision for themselves.
My husband is always a say no first type person, and he's just always been that way. But I know that one of the reasons he loves me is because of my strength and my ability to advocate for myself. I am a strong person. I have learned how to have boundaries. I think a lot of women, it takes so long in their lives to actually learn how to have those boundaries, to stick up for themselves. And I didn't really start learning how to do that, I think, until after my mom died, which was almost 7 years ago. That is when I really started to say no on any kind of abuse, no on telling me what I should or could or can or whatever do. And that's just who I am now. That's part of the change in me. I've always been strong. I've always been feisty, but it's different now.
I don't think that boundaries equivalent strength, because I've always been a very strong, independent person, but I've also been in abusive relationships. A lot of it just is like learned behavior. You learn to let people run all over your boundaries. You never learned how to have healthy ones because you weren't allowed to. So I do think there are two different things. I think it's just you learn what's healthy, emotional intelligence and health, and what's best for you. A lot of times people cross a boundary and don't realize it because you don't know how to say it. You don't know how to tell them what it is. So
100%.
And that's one thing that I think a lot of, like you said, women especially struggle with is healthy boundaries. And one thing cancer will teach you is that too, because you don't have time and energy to deal with bullshit anymore. And it's almost like a filtration system where you're like, I'm not dealing with this. This is where it stops. I can't. And sometimes you see people fall off when you get diagnosed. But then it's weird because other people show up that you never expected to show up, and you realize who's worthy of your time and energy.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I definitely had a really strong support system. A lot of people that I just did not even realize would show up for me showed up for me. And I'm very, very grateful for that. And I was also very, very open, and I still am very open. I had a Facebook page that people would go to. It was a group called Phoenix Catching Fire. Oh my God, I couldn't even. I have a big tattoo of a phoenix on my neck. I couldn't get it right here because I had lymph nodes removed. So I was bummed about that. So I have it on my back. So I never get to see it.
I'm going
But
to need a
it was,
picture of that. Insert
yeah,
here. Picture of
absolutely.
Phoenix.
I absolutely do have those, but I was very open and so many people joined that group and I would go live. I would show my hair falling out. I showed my bald head. I showed my eyebrows and terrible rashes. And I was an open book the whole entire time. And I feel like people were very grateful for that. They've learned a lot. And now I have a ton of people who reach out to me all the time. Hey, Jamie, either A, I just got breast cancer, or my sister has breast cancer. Do you mind if I connect her to you? I just think that a lot of people really feel all alone. But what we know is that the breast cancer community is like the sisterhood of all sisterhoods.
The
It
shittiest
is
club you never wanted to be part of.
crazy. Absolutely. But it is. I'm so grateful for it. I honestly am. That is one of the silver linings, is that I have met so many outstanding people all around the world. And I get to connect with people like you and connect with people like the Perky Girls and surgeons out there, oncologists, people all over the place. And we get to collaborate and have these conversations. And I think that's extraordinarily, helpful and important to people.
I was very open with my journey as well. I served with the breast cancer community for a lot of different reasons. But even this podcast, if I can use my story to help give other people that feeling that they're not alone, it gives my shittiest thing purpose, but it also helps others. Then that's all that I need. I don't care if one person is impacted by it. It helps healing for me, it fills my cup, but it also helps them. I think that's why most of us do it. And initially, I did feel very alone until I met other breast cancer warriors. And I was like, you get it. I don't even have to explain. Maybe we had a different type of breast cancer. Maybe you didn't go through the same treatments as me, but you fought the same monster and we bond over that instantly.
Definitely. One of my board members, she is a breast cancer survivor. Not all of them are, but one of them, she said that during her diagnosis and treatments, she never even told anyone. I don't even think she told her dad. She said it was, cultural. She didn't want to burden anyone. At some point, though, she realized that it's not about her anymore. It was more about sharing her story to help other people, to touch other people. I always tell people it's not about me anymore. Yes, my story is here for me to tell and to help people get through whatever shitty thing they're going through. But if I can touch other people, that is huge to me.
So that is why you started a nonprofit, yes?
Yes. Yeah. And by the way, I think you asked the question, did I have radiation? I did not have to have radiation because when I woke up from my first surgery, they had pulled lymph nodes and there was nothing in there. So it was discovered that I just didn't need to have radiation. So yeah, actually that February, which was a couple of months after my surgery, I went into a very, very deep, dark depression. I didn't understand what was going on with me because I should have been grateful. I was through my treatments. I didn't have, as many doctor's appointments anymore. I was cancer free, all the things. And I couldn't figure out why. And I was in my first year of retirement. I mean, it's all good, right? And it just wasn't for me. I had such a difficult time. My husband and I were going through a terrible time because of it. And people were like, well, Jamie, why don't you write a book? And I'm like, I don't want to write a book. And I had a podcast before I had retired. It was for educators. It was called Be That Teacher. And I was going to support struggling teachers in my retirement. It was called Coach to Engage. I had it all. I was building that foundation, and that all went to shit after I was diagnosed, right? Because I just couldn't focus on that anymore. And so come that February, I was like, okay, now what? I'm retired. I let my whole other podcast go. Oh, you should write a book. No, I don't want to write a book. There's a million books out there for cancer. I love writing, but I don't want to write a book. But I said, I do know how to talk to people. I do know how to have conversations with people, and I know how to podcast. And that is when Test Those Breasts was born. And I decided to launch the very first episode on the 1-year anniversary of my actual diagnosis. So I podcasted for about a year, and then somebody was like, how are you funding this? Are you making any money? And I'm like, yeah, I'm not really doing it to make money. Yeah,
No,
but
we
you
don't.
still,
We
you
don't make
still-
money.
but you still have to make some money to pay for your platforms and things like that. Why don't you
Right.
start a nonprofit? And I'm like, okay, so what did I do? Plot twist. I did not even expect to be doing this at all. I was actually thinking about trying to monetize the podcast, but then I was like, oh, okay, I'll just start a nonprofit. No problem. Wow. It's a lot, but I jumped through all the hoops. I got my Test Those Breasts all registered. And I just kept on just plugging away, and I would teach breast health classes using the Know Your Lemons curriculum. And at some point, about 9 months ago, I had a friend come to me and say, who's funding this? And I said, me. I mean, yeah, just me. It's self-funded. And she's like, okay, well, what do you want to do with it? And I'm like, well, I would love to be able to build a team. I have a board, but they're non-working. I'd like to build something. And that is when we started to really work on a solid mission, a solid vision, getting people on board who really saw that mission and vision. And it's a lot. I mean, we finally are starting to get legs. We have a working board right now. We are onboarding a couple more. I have a couple of independent contractors who are starting to, do my social media and things like that, and teaching breast health classes, and actually also recruiting other breast health educators. I just never expected to be doing this ever in my life, having a nonprofit, being the leader, a founder of a nonprofit. And I will tell you that you obviously know, you've been working with nonprofits. I have a whole new level of respect for people who start nonprofits. I am blown away at how challenging it is. Really.
Yeah, I didn't jump through that hoop. I had the woman that gave my cancer purpose. Her name was Jen. She created Pink Warrior Advocates. I met her because I was diagnosed, felt alone, and I was like 8 months in. I wasn't ready to talk to people when I first had my double mastectomy, and it wasn't until I found out I had to do chemo where I was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I don't know what I need. I just need to figure it out. And I reached out to her. I got her card at my event where I shaved my head, like when they were doing a fundraiser for me. She was like, let me meet you for lunch. And she cussed. That's the first thing. I was like, I'm talking to the president, the founder.
I'm in.
Yeah, say less. Where's lunch? And she was just a human. And I went and met her, and it was a small nonprofit in Texas, but they already had financial assistance, $10,000 a month that they were giving out to warriors for not just medical bills, but like we're putting food on their table. We're paying their mortgages. We're helping pay for light bills, car payments, all of it, all the stuff that in between, right? They had a Meta-Wish program where they're making stage 4 warriors' dreams come true, sending them on trips, buying a puppy, getting them a car, whatever they need. So I saw what she was doing. She had just been re-diagnosed with stage 4 at 38 years old. And I was like, I have to be part of this. So I served on the board, or I volunteered for about 4 or 5 months. She asked me to be on the board. I was on the board for 3 years total almost. And she passed away at 41 years old of stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. And she had all these plans for it. She's like, if you want to let it go, all the money that we have, go ahead and give it to this nonprofit or keep it going as long as you want. And I'm very grateful to say that I was there for 4 years. I stepped away probably about a year after my diagnosis because I reevaluated life. I had gotten it to a place where I felt it would be fine without me. And I was like, love you guys. I want y'all to keep serving. Y'all are good. But I needed to refocus on my life, my child, my baby that I'm not getting this time back with, my other kids. And I stepped away, and they're still in existence. They just did their 10-year gala. So, which is huge.
Wonderful.
For, if as you know, most nonprofits, 3 years, that's a feat. So
Yeah.
to have a 10-year gala was such a huge thing. So I'm very proud of being part of that and helping continue it. And hopefully they're cure forever, but we need a
That's
lot of
wonderful.
them.
We do. And I think those smaller nonprofits need to be recognized a whole heck of a lot more. I just read an amazing article about the difference between smaller nonprofits and larger nonprofits and why it's important to fund those smaller nonprofits. I'm in Northern Nevada, so I'm trying to, with my team, to impact Northern Nevada. And I think that when people think about funding, like donating monthly or annually or whatever it is, they just think about, the Susan G. Komens, the bigger nonprofits that may not necessarily make as big of an impact that a smaller nonprofit would. And very interesting article that I just actually sent to my board members to read because I thought it was so fascinating, because we are really trying to learn that whole funding piece to it. We're getting there. We're building lots of partnerships. One of the board members, she is amazing. She's the one that really got me going, but she's like always trying to pull me back because I want to do this now. I want to get it done. I need to get it done. I'm afraid it's going to disappear. I know we need this right now, but she's like, we need to pull you back. We need to build a really strong foundation and then we can move forward. And I'm like, no, but we need to keep teaching classes. We need to keep doing this. So it's just this dance that we do and it's frustrating.
But yours is still like a baby nonprofit.
It is
like
a
you're
baby.
building it.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. You're going to learn a lot, just like you did with breast cancer. You learn so much. And there's going to be things that you do and you're going to fail a little bit. And then you're going to do things and be like, holy shit, that worked. And you're going to find what works best for you. But I think you have the biggest thing that you have already is an excellent platform. Podcasting is huge and you can utilize that to help get the word out. You're literally educating people, not just nationally, potentially internationally. They come across your podcast. And that
all the time.
Minimally, you were doing a podcast before. So realistically, like the cost for that, yes, there is cost to make a podcast, but the amount of people that you're helping, that's priceless, which is insane.
Priceless. Absolutely. And it's funny because I look now, it's like tomorrow we're releasing episode 126. And I'm like,
what?
Wow,
that is very cool. I'm only at I think you're number 37.
Well, you know what, though? Let me tell you, when I first started podcasting, I was told that most people do not make it past episode 5. And if you don't make it past episode 5, you're dead in the water. And so now I look back and it's like, wow, 126. I took a hiatus for a little while, but I release every week. And as you know, I don't know if you edit your own. I edit my own.
I do.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And it's very time consuming. I do teasers and things like that.
It's a part-time, full-time job.
Yes.
That you don't get paid to do.
Yeah. And I love doing it though. I love the conversations that I've had, and that to me is priceless, and I will continue to do it. It's way better than writing a book to me.
I agree. And that's why, honestly, I started my podcast.
My
podcast. I can't talk. I'm so good at talking. I started my podcast after I left the organization because I'm a very social person and I need a purpose. I needed some way to connect with people. And similar to what you're saying, like connecting with people, there's no price for that. Like, it's fulfilling. It's rewarding.
And I love that too, that when you can go out and you can hear different types of podcasts, like your podcast is completely different than mine. Yes, there's a lot of cancer talk on it, but you have a very different type of mission for your podcast. Mine, I interview survivors, medical providers, therapists, so many different people that matter. And I love when people reach out and say, hey, I listened to that, episode with Dr. Cabling. And because of that episode, I'm going to New Orleans to get my breast surgery. Thank you so much for that. Or, hey, I just listened to your episode with your husband and wow, I thought I was the only one. And I'm so glad there are other people out there who struggled.
You're helping them not feel alone and giving them answers when they may not know, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, you're giving them actual resources and experiences.
Yeah. And all of those resources end up on my website. So I have testtosebreasts.org. You can actually listen to the podcast on the website, but you can also go to the resource tab, and every single resource that my guests have provided are all on that platform, along with podcasts that I've listened to, people that I've interviewed who have podcasts, things like that. For example, I'm going to flip-flop it and ask you to interview on my podcast. So just be aware.
Me?
Yeah, little
Okay,
me.
good. Pretend I didn't tell you all the stuff already, and I'll come back and tell you.
No, I mean, there's always some crossover. There's always some crossover. But the nonprofit has been wonderful because I've been able to really hone in that mission. Right now, we have an initiative called the MBA program. It means My Best Act. And it's all about getting into where all of the young adults are, universities, sororities, wherever, medical schools, and educating them on the 12 signs of breast cancer, educating them on knowing their risk, how to advocate for themselves. And it's a peer-to-peer model where we can recruit other breast health educators. They teach each other, and eventually it will spread, kind of like a Tupperware party. Like when you go and you teach them and they buy things. Of course, they're not buying things from me, but I teach them the breast health class. Somebody in there is going to say, oh my God, and this happens all the time. I want to be a breast health educator. And so we get them in, we get them trained and all of that and get them their materials. And then somebody in the room is going to go, I don't want to be a breast health educator, but I will get my girlfriends together and my boyfriends together because they need to know too. And I can put together a group of people for you guys to teach. So the idea is to spread it. And if you think about it, if you're getting into the universities, there's always a turnover, right? So next year there's going to be a whole nother group of men and women, and you can go in there and teach and just keep it going. So we are getting partnerships with the UNR, University of Nevada Medical School. One of the gals that works with the interns there is on my board now. So now we have her and she's advising, they're putting a club together. We are going to be teaching a breast health class at the learning center where they work. And one of the interns is a breast health educator now. She's a Lemonista. And she's
Is
going
that
to
what
be
you
teaching.
call them?
Yeah, well, it's through Know Your Lemons,
Okay.
So I don't know if you know who Know Your Lemons is. Do you know who they are?
No.
You got to follow Know Your Lemons, holy cow.
On your Instagram,
Yeah.
I've seen some of that. But are they a nonprofit as well?
Yes. Know Your Lemons is a global nonprofit. They are a global breast health education foundation. And what they do is they've created an ecosystem for people like me. And you can become a global partner with them, which Test Those Breasts is a global partner with Know Your Lemons. So when I go out and teach breast health classes, I use the Know Your Lemons curriculum. And so with the MBA program running that, I get other people to become Lemonistas, and then we just use their curriculum every single time. Yeah, I'll send you their website. If you go there and you look under partners or whatever, and you will see Test Those Breasts on there. There's a map on there where you can see where all the Lemonistas are and how many people have been educated using the Know Your Lemons curriculum. So I get an impact statement so that I can share with funders, hey, this is how we've impacted Northern Nevada. So that's our little ecosystem here in Northern Nevada. And it's been really fun. And our tagline is find it early, change the outcome. Because the idea is we don't want anyone learning about breast health or breast cancer and how to advocate for themselves or their risk at the time of diagnosis. We want them to learn way before their diagnosis. And we want them, if they're going to find something, we want them to find it as early as possible so that they can change the outcome. We don't want them going through chemo. We want them to find it at stage 0 or 1 so that they have a better outcome.
Well, and educating on genetic testing, BRCA, like there's a lot of things that people are not even aware exists.
Right.
And they're like, oh, I think my aunt had it or my grandmother had it. And they also don't realize that men can have the BRCA and it can come as a different type of cancer. So I love that you're being so proactive about it. So how can people support your organization?
They can listen to my podcast and review and follow me on my social media. And most importantly, we need funding. They can go to my website. There's a big pink donate, and people can become monthly donators. And I do have on there under the donation where the donations go to. Like it pays for materials that I purchase. I have co-branded materials from Know Your Lemons, but it not only pays for the materials, it pays for all of the efforts for any kind of event that we have, any kind of breast health class we have. Right now, we have a breast health class that we are putting together at UNR Med School at the Learning Center on August 19th. And that is also going to be in person, and we can do remote. So if anyone wants to pop in to see what we do. I also have a partnership with Renown, the Conrad Breast Center at Renown Hospital. We're doing a class there on August 26th. And so all of the efforts, all of the operational costs, everything, that's where that funding goes to. We don't have any employees. I do have some independent contractors, but mainly it goes to the materials and the efforts, and we have all volunteers. But if people go to the website, there's a big donate button. We would be so grateful if people could throw a little love our way.
Yes. So testtosebreasts.org.
Testtosebreasts.org. And I'll give you my my social media handles also, but that's also all on my website.
Please do. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Jamie, is there anything else that you feel like we've left out that you need to add?
I just want to thank you for having this platform and being a part of this community and just everything that you do, because I feel that when we elevate voices like ours on our platforms, it just makes a huge impact. And I do truly believe that it helps people feel less alone. And I just appreciate your being able to elevate my voice and our organization at Test Those Breasts.
Well, you're officially a master of plot twists. Yes, girl, go off.
I love it.
Yes,
and
queen.
I'm going to go check out, let's see, are your nipples on Instagram?
Turkey's site?
Mine. Okay. Yeah, mine. Yeah, are yours?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, mine are too. So I'm going to go check
we'll
out
go
yours.
Compare
and you
nipples.
Go check mine. Okay.
And actually, all of you, we encourage all of you to go look at our nipples. They are restorative tattoos. They are not pornography. They are not actual nipples. They're basically an optical illusion, but our husbands love them.
Yes, they are fascinating.
They really are.
When I was in San Antonio getting them done for the first time, I was with all my girlfriends at the Airbnb, and my husband's like, "Hey, will you send me a picture of them?" I'm like, No. You have to wait. And I got home and I flashed him, and he's like, "Oh my God. They look so real. It's amazing. It's amazing."
I recorded my husband's to put at the end of the episode that I did with Perky. And I actually recently just posted the video again. I think it's like 45 seconds, but it's his reaction because I didn't tell him I was doing it. He had no idea I was getting nipple tattoos. I actually wanted art, and I surprised him with my nipples, and he was just like,
"Oh my gosh."
The sweetest, most like genuine reaction ever.
You know what? It makes us feel better. This is not a boob job. My breasts were my favorite part of my body, Crystal, and I was devastated. And when I was able to come full circle and have those restorative nipple tattoos, I felt so much better. Honestly.
They gave me a sense of being whole again. And cancer takes so much, and you don't think you're going to get that back, especially after going through all the surgeries and you keep looking at yourself wondering, am I ever going to feel like me again? I'm a different version of myself. But when I got those tattoos, I said that. Like, I looked in the mirror and I started crying, and I was like, I'm whole again. And I was like, and my boobs jiggle.
Mine do too.
And they jiggle.
So
Thanks,
nice.
D-Flap.
Thank you. Thanks, Dr. Cabling.
That's right. Thanks, Dr. Schneider.
Yeah.
But, we're breasties now, and I would love to continue touching base. I'll absolutely be on your podcast if you'll have me.
Absolutely.
And I will get you Dr. Schneider's information. I'll do my plug now. So you guys know the deal. I need reviews, okay? I've had a couple random trolls in there, but I would love a real life review. Be honest. Be constructive, but you want to give me 5 stars, bitch. And also check us out on Instagram and Facebook, Plot Twist Still Alive. Email us. Yeah. plottwiststillalive@gmail.com. And go to our website. I will put Testo's breast information on our blog as well. And it's again, www.plottwiststillalive.org.
Yes.
No, .com. I'm not an org. I got caught up in the orgs. But we got to end this shit the right way. So we always do a high five. So you're going to high five the camera. Ready? High five. Psh, still alive. And you have to do an evil laugh. Go. That was good.
Oh, yeah.